Hey everyone, can you hear me okay? Is it loud enough?
Can we turn you up a little bit?
So yeah.
How about that?
I like that.
That's good? All right. All right, great. Everyone here at the Dublin Pub in Dayton, Ohio, and everyone watching in the future, in the future on YouTube, etc. Welcome. We are so excited to get started today. My name is Chives, online, Chris on a birth certificate, and I'm so excited today to go through and join some other speakers and our community in just talking a bit about WhyDRS.org. I just want to start by talking about how we got here to this specific place. So we got to thank Jane Marie from our community for doing an incredible job. She is a local data. There's applause going on. I don't know if it'll pick up, but there's applause going on in front of me. And she really helped to put this together, helped us get the venue, helped us get commemorative t-shirts, so amazing. And I want to also bring up how 3 years ago to the day, when WhyDRS entered the public scene in an interview with Chairman Gary Gensler of the SEC, the only reason really that we were able to get to that point, to have that incredible stage and speak with him and ask him direct questions, was thanks to the hard work of Jane Marie and specific community members. We're going to hear from some of them today. Dr. Daniel Lawson is coming up next, and he also was instrumental in those days in putting something together. And what were we doing back then, right? Why is all this important? At that time, we were so focused on direct registration, the DRS in WhyDRS. And why were we so focused on that? It's because of just a year prior, when there was this whole position close only kerfuffle in the stock market. Many people heard about this. If you're watching, you're not that familiar. Quick overview was that in late January of 2021, essentially a whole bunch of different brokers said, even though specific stocks are going way up, you can't actually buy any more of those. You're just going to close out your positions. That's all we're going to allow you to do. And this was something that had not really been done very much before. People didn't even know they could do it. Can you believe it? And it hit at a nerve, I think, in so many people around the world and around the planet. Since this, of course, a international, the United States stock market is international and so important for so many. And it hit this nerve, and that nerve existed because, I think for decades, there's been an awareness that it's not really a fair game. Maybe people can't put their finger on how it's unfair, or for what reasons it's unfair, but there's a knowledge that there's something that isn't quite right going on. You look at the inequality and just all around the world, certainly here in America, there ends up being concentration of wealth and power. And there is a propensity for people who labor day to day, who they do everything they can to create a more stable world for themselves, for their children, to pass things on, and it is getting more and more difficult. You look at the labor hours that it takes to buy a house; it's up 15 times, over the last couple of decades. And everyone has the same resource when it comes to time. We only have so much of this, and so when you really look at the core of it, something's wrong here. There's a crisis, and when I think about this, I frame it all as the crisis of ownership. Society has changed. We used to have, you might have a cabinet full of VHSs and DVDs, and now you have a Netflix subscription where you're paying for a license to watch movies. We might have, a console cabinet with a whole bunch of cartridges and discs to play games, but now we're buying licenses to play those games on some kind of online distribution platform. You just don't have the same connection with the things that you spend your time doing. You still work the same way. You're paid less for your work in context of inflation and greater societal developments, as I just was mentioning. But then you don't actually get the same thing back on the other side. You get less. You get access, but you don't actually get the thing. And crazily enough, bring this back to direct registration, that is so true also in the stock market. You go on to your broker of choice these days. It's been made incredibly easy. Make a quick account, move some money in, you buy a thing, the number on your account changes, but the actual material ownership is not there. You have bought the right to claim the profit or loss associated with that investment, but the ownership is not there. And you have a choice. You out there, everywhere in America and beyond, you have a choice when you're dealing with the American stock market to direct register. And what that means is you're taking it out of this nebulous system, of which you just go right here to this website. There's lots of resources. I won't go into a ton of detail right now, but you go right over there and you can learn so much more about who is owning it when you think you do, and then what steps you can take to own it yourself. This is it's important, but it's also niche, right? It's tricky for this movement to gain ground because less than half of the households in America even own stocks in the first place. All of the upward mobility of wealth that I was just talking about is perhaps even better encapsulated in the distribution of claimed ownership in the stock market, the indirect ownership or beneficial ownership that we have through a broker. That is a whole bunch of rich folks and a whole bunch of ETFs and a whole bunch of different monetary funds, pensions, so on and so forth, right? But it's not regular working people because they don't have a ton of access in terms of liquid mobility to really buy into that. So it can be tough. I was just, I hear often, this is fascinating, but it's dry. And that's true. I'm a weirdo who still finds it fascinating and wants to learn more about it. And maybe you will too, but what's important is that at a base level, you know that you have these rights, and you know that you can take ownership and you can really control your future in a material way. With direct registration, it's not just ownership. Of course, there's benefits with voting, benefits with communicating with the company, and there's a community element. Because at that point, the company knows you, they know you, you know them, and you can communicate in a much more seamless way. And now I just want to harp really on this idea of community and wrap it back into this idea of the crisis of ownership. Even the way that we operate our online communities these days. As I said, this is international. Anywhere in America, anywhere in the world, people care about the markets, people care about the movies they watch, the games they play, and they gather and they talk. But these days online, it's the same crisis because of the data economy that exists. You don't control the platforms that you communicate on, you don't control the things that you post, you don't own the images that you make or the things that you share, and you don't see, it's even worse than you not seeing any revenue afterwards. It's manipulated and used to push you more products. We're dealing, our Discord has thousands of members, but we're looking to abandon that soon because they have recently brought in, it's not like it was a big secret that they were doing this. We've thought about moving away for a long time, but they've made it clear that they are going to be using data and that they're going to be forcing identity verification. That's not what this is about. When you have a hobby, when you have an interest, when you want to own that part of yourself and you want to communicate with other people that share that hobby and share that interest, there needs to be a meaningful way to share that with others without needing to sacrifice all these other things about the medium. That's something that we really are taking seriously when we think about where we push forward with this movement. And the last thing I want to touch on in context of that is the DUNA, the Decentralized Unincorporated Nonprofit Association that WhyDRS is. We were the first one in America, one of the very few now. And essentially what that means is we are a 501c3 nonprofit, but not the normal kind. Not the kind with a board of directors, not the kind that has this shadowy question mark. What is the distribution? How are things actually working? the intention here is to make something that is fully decentralized, fully transparent, and fully accessible to anyone who wants to identify as a member. You can come in and you can share your perspective. You will be heard as an equal member and be able to help in growing really what should be an educational resource, not just about the market, but to frame the way that we approach our communities and our assets in this question of ownership. And ultimately, what stems from that, a question of agency. You know, who controls the things that you're interested in, and what can you bring to your communities, to your friends and your family, and how can we all protect each other in this world with more and more developing monopolies, more and more unfriendliness and unfairness to regular working people, which of course is the vast majority of any population here on the planet. And how can we really build each other up and help each other? And that's what I think the DUNA framework is all about. And I can easily imagine it being applied in lots of other ways, something I'm excited to see happen in the coming years. But it starts here with WhyDRS, and that is the pedigree that we need to build, the examples that we need to set together for other communities as they work, as they develop, as they grow. And at the end of all of that, we can also enjoy the fruits of our labor on a tree in our own backyard, rather than renting it out from some massive farm down the street and never actually capitalizing on our ownership. I don't know how I'm doing on time, but that's everything I wanted to cover. So let me check my cell phone.
Good job.
Oh yeah, we got some time. All right. Someone asked about questions before. I can answer questions. Are there questions?
What kind of example should we set as first DUNA?
What kind of example should we set as the first DUNA was the question. That is a great question. So my thinking is, right, the whole charity system has a bad rap in America. I think a lot of the common wisdom is that you've got to do a lot of research about a charity before you can really even find out if their mission is worthwhile, how they're distributing funds, and a lot of the time it's fire and forget for folks. Once you find a charity that you trust, you might donate something, and it's awesome that you do support your charities. That's great, but you're trusting on them to deliver on their mission, whatever that might be, and that is wonderful. But a DUNA structure allows for a much more involved population of members. They essentially, everyone that identifies and is participating is going to have the ability to influence how the funds are distributed and how a mission is pushed forward, how a community is helped, et cetera, right? And so, as far as our example, one thing that I am excited as far as our governance structure, we're focused on providing educational materials, providing frameworks, tutorials, helping people make sense of this very complicated niche, right? And so, in that context, if someone is building up on those materials, then that person, we also want for them to participate in the system. And like, okay, like, propose, I need help with this. We have a community member who has some incredible graphic interface design skills, and but they also are looking for work at the moment. So there's a great meld here, right? We can set up proposals and disperse funds as a community and bring a person on to help with key tasks that we need to accomplish, while keeping everything within that framework and having an open dialogue. And it's all transparent on a, we can do all this on a blockchain such that anyone can track not just the disbursements, but also the voting process itself and participate in that process. So really, that was just an explanation of kind of the how it would work for us. To go back to the question of the example we need to set, we need to really encourage other DUNAs to have all that transparency, because that part is not necessarily built right into the law. We need to show them that, okay, this is an alternative structure, and it gets away from the that quiet boardroom meeting stuff that a lot of charities have. And we want to move away from that. We want to have a egalitarian approach and really encourage people to have ownership, again, right, of their interests. So if you want to start a veterinary clinic or something and you love animals and you want to help them in animal rescue, whatever it might be, but there's so much bureaucracy and there's maybe a lot of volunteers that love helping the animals, but they don't have any input on the governmental structure of the organization. And I think what I'm describing here really applies to tons of nonprofits all over the place. This kind of structure would allow for the people that are actually, up to their sleeves in it, on the ground, who know their stuff, who are really doing things. Those are the ones that the decision making is distributed amongst, and that will change, I think, how charity works, top to bottom. All right, great. I think probably have time for another quick one, and then we just got to set up for our next speaker, Dr. Dayton Lawson. Anything else that we want to cover?
Do we have any plans for this year?
Any plans for this year? Lots of plans. Lots of plans. Something that I definitely want to. I think that's the tough one, to list off a whole bunch of things on the spot. What I want to do is, we have a bunch of, for those who, for those on YouTube, this is not helpful, but we'll have a link in the description probably to some kind of transcription of the notes and all that we've worked on, because as much as I might like to rattle off a bunch of plans, one of the key descriptors about that whole DUNA thing I was just talking about, there's no CEO, there's no board of directors that are any more important when it comes to decision making than any other people. There's just folks who are maybe more involved. And so I don't want to presume anything when I speak to the whole community. I just say I want us all to work on this together. And so we've got a great group of guys here, and guys and gals here, who have come out to support and to be interested. And so we're going to be working on that. But let's see, Cliff Notes, things I want to accomplish. Maybe that's a better way to phrase it. Not definite plans, but things I want to accomplish. Implementation of governance structure. Implementation on the database of ASBT's personal terminal software. That that's gibberish, but it's fascinating. Trust me. And having more than 2.5 months of planning go into February 2027 meeting. So that's going to be a big one. And let's see. Working more on utilizing money in the Google Ads grant. We get a $10,000 a month credit of Google Ads, but we utilize 2-ish% maybe, I think last I checked, which is not a lot. So that's something to work on. Tons of stuff, but those are some highlights. And thank you for that question. I want to hear more from you later. All right, guys, I'm going to call it there.